we need to fly, but we also need to make air travel sustainable.
We talked about this roadmap for fossil-free aviation in Sweden, and the airlines is behind that roadmap. So we all work together, and they understand that if they don't make aviation more sustainable, they won't have any customers.
Exactly.
Because the flight shaming is still something that exists in Sweden.
Welcome to Sustainability in the Air, the world's first podcast dedicated to sustainable aviation. I'm your host, Shashank Nigam, the CEO of Simplifying. Every Thursday, I have important conversations with top aviation executives, technology entrepreneurs, and policymakers helping aviation take climate action. Conversations that help separate the signal from the noise. Whether you are a frequent flyer or an airline executive, if you care about sustainability or simply love traveling, welcome aboard. My guests today are Lena Wennberg, Chief Sustainable Development Officer at Swedavia, and Therese Forsström, Head of Environmental Department at Swedavia. Swedavia owns and operates 10 airports across Sweden, connecting the country both internally and with the rest of the world. In an industry often criticized for its environmental impact, Swedavia has achieved fossil-free operations in 2020 and is working towards fossil-free domestic flights by 2030. What's fascinating about their approach is how they've integrated sustainability directly into their business model, not as an afterthought, but as a core priority, from collaborating with Airbus on hydrogen infrastructure to incentivizing sustainable aviation fuel. Swedavia is exploring how airports can balance operational needs with environmental commitments. Enjoy this conversation as we explore how Swedavia is addressing aviation sustainability challenges while maintaining their license to operate. Therese and Lena, welcome to the podcast. It is rare that we have two ladies join the podcast, two from an airport and an airport authority. I'm curious if you can give us a bit of background about both of you, as well as Swedavia and its role in Swedish aviation.
Okay, I could start. My name is Lena Wennberg. I'm a former biologist. I've been working with airports since 1998. I started as a head of environment at Stockholm Arlanda and Bromma Arlanda, both airports. And I'm stayed in this company for all those years. So over to you, Therese.
Yes, and my name is Therese Forsström. I've only been here for 10 years. So, but this is the most interesting job I've ever had. I have a history within mechanical engineering. So it's not what I was educated for that I'm working with, but still, I have a lot of common things from my education brought to work, though.
Wow, thank you so much. Liana, you mentioned you joined in 1998. I'm not sure if any other airport in the world had an environmental or a sustainability position in 1998.
Yeah, I was of the environmental department at that time, but now I have moved on. I come from a research institute. I was working with environmental research in different kinds of fields, not with airports, mostly with different kind of industry impact. But since the 1998, I've been working with airports and at the environmental department. But nowadays, since 5 years, I think it is, I'm head of the sustainability department, and Therese took responsibility for all the environmental issues.
Yeah, at all the airports, at international airports at Swedavia. So I have the environmental department and kind of the operational environmental responsibility.
Interesting. For those who may not be aware, what is the subtle difference here between sustainability and environmental? Aren't they kind of the same, especially in an airport context?
Yeah. But you may know that operation eats strategy for breakfast. So we have separated the strategical questions, issues, targets from the operationals. Therese is responsible for operational, environmental target issues,
hands-on,
and I work with the strategic questions, like how prepare aviation to be more sustainable, how to prepare our airports to be more sustainable in 10 years or something like that.
And my responsibility is more hands-on at the airport right now. How can this strategic vision become an operational everyday use?
Right. Very, very interesting. And thank you for differentiating the strategic versus the execution roles here. One of the actual operational achievement has been that Swedavia achieved fossil fuel free operations in its in 2020.
Yeah,
That's
in
quite
our
a
own
success.
airport operation. Yeah.
How did you get there? What were the key milestones?
Well, the key milestones were we had a really good work for 10 years, and we had the leading how do you say the boss stood behind us.
Our CEO was very committed. From the beginning. Yeah,
a committed CEO who believed in this.
The necessity.
Is he still the CEO?
No, we had another CEO at the beginning. From the beginning, this fossil-free airport was not a goal; it was a vision.
Yeah.
But then we got the new CEO, and she said we must have this as a real target to strive to. And when we got our new CEO, the present CEO, he is at least the same committed. Yeah.
And they see it as a license to operate. I mean, if we don't do this, we don't have any license to operate anymore.
Now, I'll address the elephant in the room or elephant in the airport here. You have addressed your airport Scope 1 emissions, which let's just say are little compared to your Scope 2 and Scope 3. Swedavia also has a plan to have completely fossil-free flights within Sweden by 2030. That addresses your Scope 3. How in the world are you going to get there?
We think that we need a lot of sustainable aviation fuel.
Yeah.
Because when we reach 2030, there is not enough electrical aircraft, and it will not be hydrogen aircraft.
No.
So we rely on sustainable aviation fuel, and we have the goal is like we should have the same amount of SAF that the domestic aviation needs. So it's approximately about 10% of the aviation fuel
in Sweden
should be sustainable aviation fuel in 2030, and it's impossible. It's possible to reach that goal. We have
how much was it last year?
I think it's like last year it was only 2.2% of the fuel used in Sweden was SAF, and that's a high amount of SAF compared to the global amount. I think it's 0.6, so it's much higher in Sweden. And we get some help from the Refuel EU Aviation that will have this mandatory target of 6% by 2030. But we need 10% to cover the need for domestic aviation. So we are thinking about different kind of measures to increase the use of SAF in Sweden. Like we have this incentive program for airlines. We pay 50% of the premium cost if they refuel with SAF. We buy SAF for our own business travels. We have been doing that for 9 years now. And we help other companies, organizations that would like to fly on SAF. We do the procurement process for the companies. And not so much, but we try to increase the work around this.
And tell me, where's the SAF coming from? Is there SAF production in Sweden today to fulfill these requirements today and up to 2030? Are there more plants on the drawing board?
Soon we will have production in Sweden as well.
We have production in Sweden today,
or bigger,
but not enough. But we have other companies starting the production in the coming year, that's 2028 or 2029. And then we have, I think we have the fulfill 50% of the total need of SAF of fuel in Sweden. So the production increase steadily.
And this is interesting that the airport authority is playing this role, because airports don't use the fuel, airports don't buy the fuel, airports usually don't even mix the fuel, right?
True. No.
So, how do you pull this ecosystem together to meet these goals, these ambitious goals you are setting?
Yeah,
I think it's still the license to operate, because we're in this, as you say, together as an ecosystem. So yeah,
and we know that the price of SAF is higher than the fossil fuel. So we try to think about different measures to reduce the cost for the airlines. That's one reason we have this incentive program. And that's another reason that we do this procurement of SAF for our own business travels. But we think of other ways of reduce the cost for airlines, so they will use more SAF for the future.
Okay, one is reducing the cost for the airlines. The other is making the environment more attractive for SAF producers to come and produce in Sweden. And in a recent conversation, I was talking to a SAF producer who decided to go with another Scandinavian country and not Sweden, because I asked, why didn't you go to Sweden? They've got all of this green energy. He says, no, it's so hard to plug into the grid. There's a lot of green energy in the north, but not in the south. And I was given a lot of these reasons, and I thought, wow, there's so much out of the control. Are you doing something to, make the things conducive to producers?
Not really.
Not in that way. We're trying to get producers in not SAF producers, but SAF suppliers into our airports. It's still struggling to get into the airports and sell the SAF compared to fossil fuel producers.
And another thing we are looking into the need of energy at the airports. Yeah. We will need much more energy in the future.
Not only for SAF.
Not only for SAF, but for electric aviation, for electric cars, and for hydrogen. So we are looking into can the region close to the airport supply the airport with the right amount of energy, or do we have to produce the energy by ourselves? So we're looking into that also. Or maybe we could have a solution for those SAF producers in the future. Maybe we could do something together in the future. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's move on a little bit from SAF now. You mentioned electric and hydrogen. These are future technologies. How are you supporting their development?
We have a plan that we should have. Should welcome electric aviation when they come. At our smaller airports like Visby, Östersund, or someone else, forgot now, Umeå, I think.
Yeah.
They can charge smaller electrical aircraft at the moment, but not the big commercial aircraft. So at Arlanda we are preparing a stand 11, very close to the terminal. That next year they could welcome a commercial electric aircraft with a mega charging system, fast charging of the big aircrafts. So that's on one way we prepare.
Yeah.
When it comes to hydrogen, we have a collaboration together with Airbus, the Swedish energy company Vattenfall, Scandinavian Airlines, the Norwegian company, Norwegian Airport Authority, Avinor, and their energy company Statskraft. And we have been doing a study for a year now that we're looking into the possibilities to have hydrogen at the airports in Sweden and Norway, and what kind of things we have to do. Do we have to produce the hydrogen by ourselves at the bigger airport, or could we rely on the supply in the region, for example?
And what other measurements you need for that? I mean, security, safety measures, or
One of the most exciting electric aircraft startups is in Gothenburg, is in Sweden, Heart Aerospace. How do you work with the ecosystem, and specifically with Heart, if you can share something?
We are participating in Heart Aerospace advisory board, just to see what's happening. And you may know that they moved lots of their activities to the United States last year, and the rumor said that they are moving back to Sweden now. So we'll see
I
what's
wonder
happening.
why.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think the environment in the States not so good for startups.
Right now,
Yeah. So
for
I think
obvious reasons.
they're moving back to Sweden. And we tried to. We have a common project called ELISE, Electric Aircraft in Sweden. One of the topics was to see how to do the ground handling with an electric aircraft, the turnaround process. How does it work? When could you charge the aircraft together at the same time that you load and reload with passenger and luggage and that sort of thing? And we made a test last September, and it works very well. And there was lots of knowledge and insights.
Insights.
Yeah, we got from that. Yeah.
Right. You
So
mentioned
we
this,
are developing together. Yeah.
you mentioned this customer advisory board. That sounds quite interesting. What role does Swedavia play in this customer advisory board, for example?
It's more like explaining to Heart Aerospace what an airport is, because what support can you find from an airport, and where do you have to have the support from the fuel delivery, the energy company, the ground handler, the different kinds of stakeholders at an airport.
Very, very interesting. You also mentioned the collaboration with Airbus. That's an interesting one. I've read about it. Can you tell us a bit more in detail?
Well, you may know that Airbus have lots of projects around the world for their hydrogen aircraft. I think they are looking into different regions to see how ready is the different kinds of region to welcome hydrogen aircraft. Do they have the infrastructure? Do they need new infrastructure? Do they need new energy? What kind of prices could you expect when you produce hydrogen, for example? And they've done this, I know, for many places around the globe, like in New Zealand, like now in Scandinavia, in France, lots of places. So when its time is right, they are prepared to deliver hydrogen aircraft. And we did this together with the Swedish energy company, as I said, and the Norwegian energy company, just to have the ecosystem in place for Airbus, so they know what they can expect.
Got it. Now, amongst other partnerships, there's also this accreditation that you have achieved, the ACI's Airport Carbon Accreditation, right? And you have the highest level that you've achieved. How did you get there? What were some of the specific measures that were taken that are very effective in improving overall airport sustainability?
I think it's our mission, our goal, that we have this plan that we work with. That's one of the key figures.
It's a goal in Swedavia's business plan as a top priority goal. At the same level as economic goals, passenger goals.
It weighs the same as the economic goal and the customer goal. So we have this. It's as important as having a payback on the last row. So that's why, and we've been working with it for a very long time, since 2010. I mean, we have set the goals higher and higher, and we have also been a part of the ACA task force and working group for developing the levels. So we have always been in a lead position for that. And now we have 4 of our 10 airports accredited at the highest level. And this year we will have another 3 airports. And by 2026, all 10 airports should be at the highest level.
Wow, I think Sweden might become the world's first country to have all airports at the highest level, right? Now, I remember hearing a pushback from one of the airports which said, "Hey, I can spend X amount of money getting certified, or I can spend that same X amount of money changing my runway bulbs from the old types to the LED types."
Yeah,
what should
we've done it both. We've done both.
I love it. I love the non-constrained mindset here. Let's just go all in and let's do both. Okay. What about policy changes? What sort of government support do you think is needed to accelerate sustainable aviation in Sweden as well as globally?
Yeah, we have the Swedish government's Fossil Free Sweden initiative, which is what we Swedavia's climate work is based on, which means that the goal for Swedish domestic air travel should be fossil free by 2030, and this is aligned with the Swedish climate goals.
Yeah, and that all flying in Sweden should be fossil free by 2045.
Yeah, true.
So this Swedish government's initiative, Fossil Free Sweden, is a very great support for us. And the government that we have today, we have an infrastructure minister who is he's like all transport modes. He likes his aviation. That's not the way we're used to.
No,
usually the former ministers like train more than aviation, but he's more balanced.
Interesting. Yeah. I have to admit, this is the first time in 3 years I've heard any airport or airline executive say we like the fossil free guys in the country, because they're usually at loggerheads. Like try fossil free Netherlands and KLM and Schiphol at loggerheads, right? Fossil free Sweden, it seems, works well with you together, and that's quite the thing. How do you actually work together with climate organizations?
We don't work so much with climate organization. We work together in Fossil Free Sweden. That's more like the industry's initiative. So the industry could put out the roadmap. And the industry in Sweden has been very proactive in this, and the government is behind us. Actually, yeah. So the government have made some decision that's not support our work. So we are a bit worried about our long time goal. Of course, we have a goal in 2030 that we should have fossil-free transportation to and from the airport. And that was a goal aligned with the Swedish transport goal. But now the government is
not so sure about that goal. They are kind of wobbling.
Yeah. And that's an impact on our goal. So we are a little bit,
what should we do? Yeah.
Right. Well, when you talk about sustainability, it's great to see you have so many, supporting wins, not headwinds in your goals. When it comes to sustainability, there are of course not just CO2 emissions, but other aspects like noise and air quality as well. And that has always been a concern at airports. How do you look to address that?
We've been addressing that for a long time. In Sweden, we have environmental permits for each and every airport, and those permits state how much, for example, how much noise you can emit from the airport. So that's regulated and has been for like over 25 years. So it's I would say it's a big issue for our neighbors around the airport, and noise has always been a big question. But we are addressing them or actually handling them within our permit.
Yeah, and in Sweden we have a special law that says that our airports are of national interest.
Yeah.
So we have big zones around the airport. They're not allowed to build any houses. So people who owns the land there can't build anything on the land.
Yeah.
That's one way that we push all the neighbors away from the airport.
Yeah, so they won't move close to our airport and then be disturbed by the noise. No, you can't even move closer to our airport.
It's very, very tough for the landowners who own the land. Very, very tough.
Right. There's always this debate.
According to local air quality, we don't have any problem with local air quality at our airports.
No.
Maybe from the road traffic,
to and from the airport,
but not the airport.
No, true.
And are you doing anything to address that, the traffic to and from the airport? Perhaps encouraging train or encouraging carpool?
All kind of incentives, both train, bus. Maybe not carpooling, but still.
We have a special system for taxis.
Yes,
at Stockholm Arlanda.
You can only come here, or not only, but you are premiered if you have a taxi that is
with low emission of carbon dioxide.
Oh, nice.
More environment, like a electric car.
Electric car.
Will get in front of the queue.
Well done. Okay, delighted to hear that. Now, we've talked about things within your control, right? Which is what you're doing, how you're doing it. But the reality is, if let's say your major airline client like SAS Scandinavian decides to expand flights overnight, twice, thrice flights from Swedavia airports. One, that's generally good for the airport. Second, that's hard for you to do anything about in terms of its environmental aspect. How do you balance sustainability versus growth?
We don't necessarily see this as a conflict. We need to fly, but we also need to make air travel sustainable.
Yeah, and we talked about this roadmap for fossil-free aviation in Sweden, and the airlines is behind that roadmap. So we all work together, and they understand that if they don't make aviation more sustainable, they won't have any customers. Because the flight shaming is still something that exists in Sweden.
Yeah, and we should also remember that even though Sweden is a small country, it's quite large geographically. So if you want to go from the northern part to the southern part in a reasonable time, you need to fly. So yeah.
Yeah, and Sweden's geography is such that you can't just you have to fly in certain parts of the country as well.
Yeah, and we could have high-speed trains, but we are not so densely populated, so it's not a good spending money on high-speed train in Sweden. Maybe in the southern part, but not even there, I think.
No.
Right. That's very interesting. You mentioned that sustainability and demand growth is not in conflict, because this was the big debate we had, let's say, with London Heathrow trying to add a new runway and what it will mean in terms of additional emissions. Because even though aircraft is getting more efficient, unless all growth is 100% electric, hydrogen, or SAF, it will be increasing in emissions, isn't it?
Yeah, emission will increase, or if you talk about fossil carbon dioxide will increase until we have a totally fossil-free aviation. But I think London Heathrow had another problem with the noise, because the population, the buildings are very close to the airport, and they don't have this area
Buffer.
of not allowed to build as we have in Sweden. So we have I think a little bit more than 200,000 movements at Arlanda, and we have a permit for 350,000 movements. So we could grow a lot.
We could increase,
and we have estimated the environmental impact of those 350 movements, and that's acceptable. It's in the limits of what the environmental could
it's
accept.
stated by the
environmental authority.
Yeah.
Okay. A number of European airports have had to deal with this demand management debate internally. Is this something you foresee facing as well? And is that a useful lever to look at achieving sustainability goals?
I wouldn't say directly, but of course it will maybe come. We can also say that we aren't on the pre-pandemic levels yet in Sweden, and that's because of the domestic traveling hasn't
come back.
Yeah, hasn't come back since the pandemic. We're still at I don't know 75%, 80% of pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah, but we have a very there's both the question you raise and the like flight shaming. There are lots of travel policies in Sweden for companies and organizations that ban flying.
Yeah.
So it's
but still we need to fly, because Sweden is also a small country in the world, and we are very export dependent. And also a lot of the Swedish populations has family or friends abroad, and how should they visit their family and friends if not flying? So we have I wouldn't say conflict, but we have to find a balance.
Yeah, because the international flying is increasing in Sweden. Not so much, but it increased. Yeah.
Looking ahead to 2030, what do you envision as the biggest changes in sustainable aviation technology and practices? Do you see some big changes coming?
For aviation, you think, or
in sustainable aviation.
Well, but to 2030, we rely very much on sustainable aviation fuel, and I hope that today we have the most of the fuel are produced from HEFA, fatty acids, used cooking oil, but I hope that we will have other kind of feedstock in a couple of years from residues from the woods and that sort of thing. I think we must come there because I don't think it's enough used cooking oil in the world to solve the problem.
We don't eat so much pomfret or fries.
That's right. Swedavia has definitely done well. You're a leader in this space in sustainability. What advice would you give to other airports that are looking to get started on their sustainability journey?
If they are from the beginning, the total beginning, I think they should start doing their own carbon footprint and look at the low-hanging fruit. Start with that, because it is not only a cost, you could even earn some money, being more efficient, save energy, use cheaper kind of electricity, and become fossil-free in the future. And that's a simple thing to start with. Do your carbon footprint, see what you could reduce. Because it's not always a conflict. You could earn money in being more efficient.
Exactly.
And emit less.
And also have the highest, the commitment from the highest management.
It's very important.
If they're not on board, then it will be really difficult to go forward.
Got it. No, thank you for sharing your journey. This has been very exciting to see a forward-looking airport that has done this not just in the last 3 years. Liana, you've been there since 1998. Therese, you've been there for over 10 years. This is quite exciting to see. You know what? This takes time. This takes persistence. And results can be visible, like you are showing yourself here. So it's very exciting. Now, the final part of this interview is what we call the rapid fire round, in which we get to know you ladies a bit more personally. Okay. And I'm going to ask you simple questions about yourselves, which you can reply, whatever comes to your mind. So maybe one of you can go first, and then we'll have the second person. Maybe Liana, we'll start with you. What's your favorite book?
Oh, what a question. Favorite books. I have so many books I'd like to read. I don't know the title in English, but it's like The Pearl That Broke Her Shell, like about a girl growing up in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Catched about. I like that.
Okay, I will check it out. What about your favorite movie?
My favorite movie?
Yeah.
You can think about it.
Harder and harder.
Harder and harder. Yeah, I don't think I have a favorite movie. Maybe I should say
an oldie but goldie.
Yeah, Officer and Gentleman, maybe something like that. Is the name in English? Yeah,
I think so.
Okay, your favorite airline?
Oh, my favorite airline? Air New Zealand.
Ooh, nice.
Years ago. That was an easy question.
Nice. I love it. I was with the ladies from Air New Zealand yesterday. I will drop them a line that I spoke to someone who, from the other end of the world.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Your favorite airport that is not Swedavia operated?
Oh, easy too. Changi Airport.
Fantastic. That's a good one. That's a good one. What is something you like to do in your free time?
Free time, travel. Not so strange. Yeah, I'd like to travel everywhere. I would like to go to, I'll say Eastern Island.
Nice.
Chile.
Wow, in Chile. Yeah, very nice. Have you been there?
No, I would like to go there.
Okay. Do you currently take care of your own carbon footprint through any means?
Yeah, I do. Maybe twice a year, something like that. But I be always so frustrated because they never include the possibility to buy SAF.
Well, I think I was flying SAS Scandinavian the last time via actually to Gothenburg, and they gave me an option to buy SAF for my flight, and I was super excited that I could do that. It was in the mobile app.
You can't include it in the tools when you calculate your carbon footprint. So it's
correct. In the tools, yes, only when purchasing. Okay, what is something you like?
I buy stuff when I travel. Yeah, of course.
Sure. And Liana, what is something you'd like to learn?
Like to learn? I would like to learn how to educate my dog to be better, to find Mushrooms, yeah.
Okay, to be better in finding mushrooms, even better. No, that's a good dog. And finally, what is the best advice you've received?
Well, it's like something like life must. I can't explain it. Livet måste leva framåt, men kan bara förstås baklänges. You live your life
by looking forward,
but you only can
learn from the past,
understand when you look back.
Yeah.
Ooh,
very, very
interesting. I love the Swedish translations here, by the way. Fantastic. Okay, Therese, over to you. You've had a warm up here. What's your favorite book?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Go Stephen Covey. Okay. What about your favorite movie?
Pretty Woman.
Okay, we're going easy. Those
were easy questions.
What's your favorite airline?
I would say my most recent trip. So it's British Airways.
Really? Wow. Fantastic. That is very rare.
Yeah. I had a good experience.
Yeah, I have flown BA quite a lot, and in general, the crew almost always amazes me how nice the crew is in BA. What's your favorite non-Swedavia airport?
I would also have to say the latest one I visited it would be Sao Paulo in Brazil.
Okay. So did you fly BA to Sao Paulo? Is that what it did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And 2 weeks ago.
Just a few weeks ago, right? What is something you do in your free time?
I spend a lot of time in my house and garden. So decorating, gardening. So
I read a book about this, that the Swedes love doing this. And I was thinking, wow, people are writing books about everything these days, but seems like this is a real thing.
Yeah. True.
To mend to your garden, and now it's going to be the berry season, so you'll go berry picking. Is that right? And
I'm looking forward to this season now.
Looks like I read a good book. Okay. What is something you'd like to learn?
How to not be so how do you say otålig? The English word for otålig. Help us, Peter. Can you Google it?
Impatient?
Yeah. Oh,
no.
You know
Swedish. Okay, I have no idea, but there's something else going on here. Yeah, I felt it. I felt what you were saying. I have my Swedish level is absolute 0. So for me to get this,
after this podcast, you will have a
higher level. Yeah.
Okay. I think I know which parts of this podcast are going viral. So this is very, very interesting. Okay. And finally, what is the best advice you've received?
My best advice is that I shouldn't be so impatient. Everything has its time and place.
Therese, do you have kids?
Yes.
Because once I had kids, I could no longer be impatient. There was next level of patience that I learned, and they were my best teachers.
True. I have 2 of them. They are teaching me every day.
Okay, perfect. It has been such a pleasure speaking. I'm glad we could do this, and thank you for setting an example for not just Scandinavia, but for airports around the world. And I wish you all the best in your journey, and I cannot wait to meet you in person.
Likewise, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sustainability in the Air. Aviation is one of the hardest to decarbonize industries, yet there are multiple paths to get to net zero. Awareness is key to a green future. So please give us your support to help our sustainable aviation insights reach a wider audience. You can do this by sharing this episode on your network, on LinkedIn, Twitter, or even WhatsApp. Or perhaps you might consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to this episode. You can start a conversation with us by writing to us at podcast@simplifying, that's simply with an I.com. And for more content on sustainable aviation, please visit our website green.simplifying.com and join the movement. Sustainability in the Air is an original podcast by Simplifying. The show is produced by Juraj Toth in Slovakia. Dirk Singer is our Director of Sustainability, who leads research for each interviewee out of Greenwich, UK. Shubhadeep Pau is our Supervising Editor based out of Mumbai and Singapore. The articles are written by Ayushi Badola in Dehradun in India and Meera Hull in Montreal, Quebec. Creative design is led by Ligia Esteve in Montreal. Baiba Drimen is the project director for the show based out of Valencia, Spain. Special thanks to Wendy Sim in Singapore. And I'm Shashank Nigam, the CEO of Simplifying and your host. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.